Hi everybody, this is our project by Derek Urrutia and Alex Aragon, and we're going to talk about the war that they are between Russia and Ukraine. First, we're going to start with the first question. Why has Russia invaded Ukraine and what does Putin want to make in this war? We have a lot of questions and here we're going to answer it. So let's go to start. Okay, first we have the president of Russia, that is Vladimir Putin, and the president of Ukraine, that is called Volodymyr Zelensky. They are the two presidents of two of the countries that they are in war, and we're going to talk about this problem that we have right now in the moment of the present day. Okay, if you don't know, Russia, um, her president Vladimir Putin has launched a devastating attack on Ukraine. This is called like a European democracy of 44 million people, bombarding its cities and closing on the capital, like it's called Kiev, prompting a mass exodus of refugees. But why did Russia's authoritarian leader tear up a peace deal with his neighbor and unleash what European leaders have labeled Putin's war? Okay, if you don't know, he has shattered peace in Europe and thrown the continent's entire security in by a structure into jeopardy like that. Okay, after we talk the context by this situation, we're going to come with the next question. Why did Russian troops invade? If you don't know, on February 24, President Putin declared Russia could not feel safe to develop and exist because of what he claimed was a constant threat from mother Ukraine. Immediately, airports and military headquarters were attacked. Then tanks and big troops rolling from Russia. Russia annexing Crimea and easily Belarus. Big cities have been shelled, neighborhoods razed to the ground, and millions of Ukrainians have fled their homes. And yet, Russia bans the terms war or even invasion, treating journalists with jail if they do. For President Putin, this is a special military operation. Many of his justifications for war were false or irrational. I don't know, what do you think? He claimed his goal was not to protect people subjected to the bullying and genocide, and aim for the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. There has been no genocide in Ukraine and is a vibrant democracy led by a president who is very Jewish. What do you think about this situation? Okay, for the next part, we have how far have Russian troops advanced? Well, if you don't know, President Putin has frequently accused Ukraine of being taken over by extremists ever since its pro Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych, was ousted in 2014 after months of protest against his rule. But Ukraine has not lurched to the right, it has turned to the west, and Russian leader aims to reverse that. Those protests broke out when Moscow pressed Ukraine president not to sign in 2013 association treaty with USA. Russia related in 2014 by seizing the southern region of Crimea and the region of rebellion in the east, backing separatists who have fought the Ukrainian forces an 80-year war that has claimed in 14,000 lives. Ukraine has made clear it wants to join to the European Union and the Western Defense Alliance NATO, but the Kremlin will not have it. In late 2021, Russia began deploying big numbers of troops close to Ukraine's borders. President Putin repeatedly denied planning an invasion, but he scrapped in 2015 mixed peace for the east and recognized areas under rebel control as independent. Okay, for the next part that we have is how far will Russia go? Maybe it's too difficult to explain this, but it's already clear that Vladimir Putin seeks to take control of Ukraine and overthrow its democratically elected government. President Zelensky said he had been warned. The enemy has designated me as target number one. My family is target number two. What kind of human make this or say that? Russia's state goal is that Ukraine be freed from oppression and he cleansed of the Nazis. Under this false narrative of Ukraine, run by fascists since 2014, Mr. Putin has spoken of bringing to court those who commit numerous bloody crimes against civilians. He has denied any the could be Ukraine, and he rejected a UK accusation before the war that he was planning to install a proclaiming puppet. But then he said there will be no invasion either. One unconfirmed intelligence report says he aims to split the country in two. So, what do you think about this information? Do you think it's too kind of difficult to explain it? Okay, for the next part, we have how dangerous is this invasion for Europe? Okay, if you don't know, there is are terrifying times for Ukrainians as shells and bombs have rained down on their cities and more than 2 million have fled other neighboring countries. If you don't know, Poland, Hungary, Romania, Moldova, and Slovakia are dealing with a dramatic influx of refugees. The USA has warned that at least 5 million more could be displaced. But it's also a decisive moment that threatens to tear up Europe's post World War II security structure. Russia's leader has put his nuclear forces on his alert days after the threatening the West with the consequences the like of which you have never seen. If it stands in his way, but war the nuclear risk? Well, recalling the Cold War, Volodymyr Zelensky has spoken of Ukraine battling to avoid a new Iron Curtain closing Russia from the civilized world. For Europe's leader, these invasions has brought some of the darkest hours since World War II. Francis Emmanuel Macron has spoken of a turning point in Europe's history. Okay, for the next part that we have is there a diplomatic way out? Well, there seems a very little chance for the moment, even if the two sides have held a several round of talks. Ukraine has already moved on NATO, but Russia insists Kiev lays down its arms and demilitarizes, and that will not happen. Beyond the war, any eventual deal will have to cover the status of eastern Ukraine and Crimea as well as armed control with the West. The US had offered to start talks on limiting short and medium range missiles as well as not a new treaty on intercontinental missiles. Russia wants all US nuclear arms barred from beyond their national territories. Russia has been positive towards a proposed transparency mechanism of mutual checks of missile bases, two in Russia and two in Romania and Poland. And that's all the context that we have right now of the situation that they are in, Ukraine and Russia, about the war. So I don't know if this is going to end, but maybe it's a kind of difficult to explore more about this situation because Russia has an opinion and Ukraine has another. And for the final part, we have interviewed 5 persons to know about what they think about this situation. Hi, Hector. First, I'm gonna say that thank you that you are here to making these questions, and I don't know if you know about the war that they are in between Russia and Ukraine. Do you have
Yeah,
an idea?
yeah, I do know. I mean, a bit. I'm not like entirely sure of what's happening so in the whole thing, but yeah, I think I do have an idea.
Okay, Hector. Okay, I'm going to start with the first question. That is, what do you think about the war that Russia and Ukraine have?
I think that it's actually kind of dumb because I mean, why though? It was like from one day to another,
Uh huh.
just simply, we're having a war, and it's like what? And especially since Russia is like so overpowered in the whole world, and Ukraine is like this.
Yes.
I mean, in comparison to Russia and to the other main things like the U.S., I think mainly is like ambition behind Russia's attacks.
Okay, Hector. And to the second question, do you think Russia uh, take her best option, or they maybe can do another thing like not making war?
I think that if they have a conflict, a problem, I think that they should talk it out, like having the European Union as an intermediary between both of them, because I think that's the only way that they can solve the thing. I don't think that it is like entirely necessary to begin a war right now, especially since it's now so dangerous with all the nuclear stuff that everyone has. And yeah,
Okay. If you were Ukraine, you will defend your country.
I mean, I guess I have to.
I don't know if you don't want it, you cannot do it. I don't know if you are scared of to enter to the war. I don't know. That's the question that I have. If you were Ukraine, you will defend your country.
I mean, if I had the option, I mean, I'm going to sound like a wuss, but I wouldn't
Don't worry.
because I don't know. Maybe I don't have that feeling of patriotism behind my I don't know, my intentions, but um, I think that maybe if I was actually in that context, I think that some things would change. But at least right now, I'd say I wouldn't.
Okay. What could you do to make peace and not war?
I mean, like I said before, maybe talking it out. I think talking it out is the best way to solve a problem. And I don't know, maybe, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't solve my problems, bombing innocent, innocent people, So yeah, I think maybe talking it out, as I said, with the European Union as an intermediary, because maybe like Russia and Ukraine don't have like some problems with them. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I think that would be that. Or like with ONU as an intermediary.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
the
for the
the UN,
last
sorry, the UN.
okay. For the last question, do you think in the future we're going to have another world war?
Yeah, but I believe that in a very, very a very distant future. I don't think that today or in the probably in a few decades we would have one because I don't know. I simply don't think that it would happen. However, I think that yes, in a few, let's say 50 years, I think that
Okay.
we'll probably have another one. Yeah.
And do you have in mind what kind of countries they are in the world war?
The same as always, the US, Russia, China, like the first
Germany?
world countries.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know right now because Germany are like, I think, held back a bit.
Uh-huh.
But for example, England or France,
Yes, yes.
that would be a good shout. Uh, yes, I think that mainly them.
Okay, Hector. But well, that they are the questions that I have, and we finish. So I'm gonna say thank you to be here to make a little help with me to answer me these questions, and that's all. Thank you for your patience and for your answers.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Mr. Jacob, I'm gonna tell you some questions and you are going to answer me, okay? The first one is, what do you think about the war that Russia and Ukraine have?
It's an abuse for the President Putin, and it's a criminal humanity.
Okay. The second is, do you think Russia take her best option or they maybe can do another thing?
No, the war never is the best option.
Okay. The third one is, if you were Ukrainian, you will defend your country?
Of course,
Okay. what could you do to make peace and not war?
I think the OTAN signed a contract for the protection of the weak countries.
Okay, and the last one, do you think in the future we're going to have another world war?
Invariably, yes.
Okay, thank you, that's all.